Connor, keep me on track for the love of God. Let's get to running backs.
All right, running backs time. We got a couple on a bye here. Obviously, the big name is Saquon Barkley, who got a little banged up this weekend, but obviously maybe this gives Barkley some time to rest. Bucky Irving, who we're all waiting to come back because when Bucky plays, we know how good he is. Breece Hall had his best game of the season, and now you get Breece Hall on a bye week, and we'll see if he's still a Jet coming out of the bye. We don't know that. I don't think anyone really knows that right now. Quinshon Judkins, obviously, he's been a big-time player in fantasy in terms of value. And then Rachaad White, who maybe has been insurance for people that drafted Bucky. So it's a pretty dense running back list here, Matthew, in a shallow position group.
For sure. And again, we're also, you've also still got some injuries. We don't expect Trey Benson back, obviously, for the Arizona Cardinals. We just mentioned Cam Skattebo. He's hurt. So it's, there's definitely some big names there. All of those guys, the quote Tampa Bay running back and the others, Barkley, Hall, Judkins have all been fantasy starters throughout the season.
And speaking of which, the Giants just lost their starter in Cam Skattebo, who's been such a great story, and that means it's Tyrone Tracy time again. As you look at Tyrone Tracy at Philadelphia in Week 8, what he was able to do. Obviously, the snap rate is at 64% because that was after the Skattebo injury, a lot of his looks. 10 carries, he catches 2 passes, which is what he's best at. Yeah. Brian Daboll spoke on the state of the Giants running back room going forward.
Well, he's a pro, right? So, again, I think he performed well for us at Denver.
We've seen pros sulk before, and it doesn't seem like necessarily he did.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but you answered it for me.
Do you expect to do anything in terms of Dante Miller and Devin Singletary, mixing them in?
Yeah, well, Motor's on the roster. You'll definitely see Motor, and then Tracy. Then we'll decide. We got a week here. We'll decide what we want to do.
That was a good response.
By the way, for those of you not watching it, if you guys are listening to this as a podcast, there's like a pause there where you can just sort of see Brian Daboll like, how much of a jerk do I want to be to this dumb reporter?
100%.
Or screw it, I'll just I'm going to swallow and I'll just answer the question. When he says Motor, that means Devin Singletary. A lot of people think he might have meant me because that, of course, was my nickname in college.
And we called you that season 1 of
yes.
Basketball Happy Hour.
Yes, exactly.
You've changed to the Ankler.
The Ankler,
the
right. But season 1 and the excuse of the Ankler, I was known as the Motor in college.
Because I just want to clarify, because of your speed.
No, because I like to motorboat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
With speed.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
See, I was just kind of, protecting you there. Oh, boy. Anyways, Brian Daboll, he said it. The reporter answered it for him. Obviously, Tyrone Tracy's a pro. We'll see Singletary, or as his friends call him, Motor. How about this matchup against the Niners here, though? Because he's only 51% available, Tracy, because he was getting work. And Cam Skattebo,
he was the starter at the beginning of the year, and Skattebo banged up in training camp. And so it took Skattebo a couple of weeks before he sort of overtook Tyrone Tracy, and then Tracy got a little bit banged up as well. But look, he's had 8 career games, Tyrone Tracy has, where he's gotten at least 15 touches. 8 career games, and in those games where he gets work, where he gets at least 15 touches, and that's what we expect against the 49ers, in those 8 games, he's averaging 15 fantasy points per game. It's worth noting that the 49ers are bottom 10 in terms of most fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. We saw Woody Marks go off against them last week as well. And so the Giants very quietly are 13th in the NFL in terms of running back fantasy points per game. 13th in running back fantasy points per game. Now, that is skewed a lot by the fact that Cam Skattebo has scored a lot of touchdowns, right? So that's, he's just basically falling into the end zone. And I don't know that they're going to give it to, this is sort of what we were talking about with Jackson Dart earlier. I don't know that Tyrone Tracy gets as much goal line work as Skattebo did just because they're different players, right. Connor. But
might not have a choice.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but then maybe they use Dart a little bit more. They try to get a little bit more creative. But the fact of the matter is that the Giants' offense is a reasonable, passable. Like, is it an amazing offense? No, but it moves the ball.
With Dart, it's been viable, acceptable, competent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They fight. They don't look like they don't have these dead weeks that we've seen from them over the last year and a half.
Correct. Right. Is it amazing? No. Can you get by with it? Sure. It's a little bit like me as host. Like, it's not your ideal situation, but can you get there a little bit?
For a couple weeks. Yeah. For you, a couple shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I do think Tyrone Tracy, he's the starting running back on a competent offense in the NFL and a team in which there are four viable running backs on a bye and more that might be a little bit hurt. So I do think Tyrone Tracy more of a high-end flex than low-end RB2.
Which answers Aloha Brick's question here. What is your confidence level in him being an RB2 or higher?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm super confident. I think he can potentially get there in the right matchup there, but I think he's more of a high-end flex. But, again, I'll do all the numbers tonight and when I do my rankings, but my guess is that he comes in somewhere in the 18 to 22 range would be my, in my rank. Somewhere in that.
Like 5 guys because of bye week, couple injuries.
Yeah, so.
It makes sense.
Somewhere in there.
Right.
Somewhere
Matchup's not terrible.
Yeah.
Our next
he's gonna get 15 touches or so. They'll use him more in the passing game. I think Daboll's pretty good play caller, and he knows that's his skill set. And so they use Skattebo a little bit in the in the passing game.
Yeah, he was pretty good in the pass game.
So
our next running back, Tyjae Spears, he is 69% available. Matthew. Yeah, I knew you'd like that one. I'd give you time to get a laugh out, so we can then go on with the actual information.
All right, so Tyjae Spears, speaking of pass-catching running backs, just like Tyrone Tracy, Tyjae Spears is the pass-catching running back of the Tennessee Titans. He's actually led the backfield in snaps 2 of the last 3 games, playing over 51% of the snaps, as you see it there on your screen. Why is that? Because the Titans are usually down.
Always.
And when they're down, they're throwing. And when they're down and throwing, it's Tyjae Spears who is out there 3 straight games with at least 3 receptions. He's got a double-digit target share in that time frame, and it's worth noting that the Chargers, that's who the Titans play this week, the Chargers, your Los Angeles Chargers of Anaheim, allow the 4th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. They don't always bolt up. Yeah.
That's a sneaky one.
It is.
Yeah, their front has regressed a little bit this year. How about this one?
And we think there's going to be no problem with Justin Herbert and company moving the ball against the Titans.
Right. Cannon, start Tyjae Spears or Woody Marks, RB2 fill-in, full PPR. I think it has to be Woody, right?
Yeah, it's just better offense, more explosive player. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Connor, but very quietly, C.J. Stroud's been good. The last couple of weeks. Way better.
You had the Baltimore game, and then last week specifically against the Niners was the closest thing we've kind of seen to him. We're going to get to some of his wide receivers, but I think there is something sustainable there to carry on going forward. And it wasn't a Dalton Schultz explosive game, which is kind of who he's been leaning on.
It was kind of the rookies and some Xavier Hutchinson mixed in, but Marks just gives them an explosiveness out of the backfield that they've been lacking a little bit.
We'll get to the Texans pass game during the wide receivers. Our last running back here is Bam Knight, 80% available. It is worth to know Trey Benson is expected to come off the IR in Week 10, or at least eligible to come off the IR.
And and Trey Benson's out there in about 42% of leagues, so he doesn't make our threshold. And again, we're not expecting he obviously can't play this week because he's still on IR. But it's worth taking a look. For those people that sort of sort by projections, he's not going to have a projection this week, right? But sometimes I like to sort by roster percentage, and so you'll see players like Trey Benson, he's on a lot of rosters, but he's not projected. And so anyway, just worth checking to see if he is out there in your league, because if he is, he's going to come back next week, and we like Trey Benson, and we think he's going to be, a viable starter down the stretch. But if you need someone just this week, Bam Knight plays the Cowboys, and over the last 4 weeks, only one team's given up more rushing yards per game than the Dallas Cowboys. Back-to-back games with multiple goal line rush attempts for Bam Knight off of the bye. Basically 30 touches his last 2 games. He's averaging 15 touches a game. They released Michael Carter, which was they're going to sign him back to the practice squad or whatever. But it
just goes to show you, though, where this backfield stands.
They don't care if somebody else claims Michael Carter.
No, you don't make that move if you're worried about him at all or factor him into a big part of what you do.
That's right. So anyway, you could do worse than Bam Knight, and my guess is you probably have.
Top targets, Tyrone Tracy, Tyjae Spears, Bam Knight, but bye-week stashes is something that I think people should keep an eye on here. Isaiah Davis with a really, really good week. Yes, it was against the Bengals, but as we say, if the Jets do trade Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis needs to be rostered everywhere.
Everywhere.
Braylon Allen is hurt. He's the guy in a run-heavy Jets offense. Sean Tucker, who got some more work this weekend, Matthew.
Yeah, again, we don't know exactly the timetable for Bucky Irving, but they gave Tucker a lot of the goal line work here, and he's just more involved than he had been previously. His workload behind Rachaad White continues to ramp up. We like Sean Tucker. How about Dylan Sampson? Now, again, Browns are on a bye, and they're saying Quinshon Judkins is day-to-day, so the expectation is that Judkins plays in Week 10, but you never know. It's the Browns, and so I could see grabbing Dylan Sampson. Same thing with Saquon Barkley. Expectation here is that he doesn't miss any time, and he's on the bye this week. But if they come back in Week 10 and Barkley's limited or can't go,
You got to have Tank Bigsby.
Got to have Tank Bigsby.
Without a doubt. All right, some insurance backs, because it's that time of year where you need to be prepared to lose a workhorse back. Of course, Tyler Algier, who's 57% available. He meets our threshold. Bashal Tootin. Kyle Monungai is a big one because DeAndre Swift has been dealing with, injury.
Groin.
Yeah, week after week. He guts it out, but if there's going to come a time where Monungai might have to take the full workload during a week. Kenneth Gainwell, who we've seen do that before. Like Corum, of course, because Kyron Williams does get hurt every year, so you should have Corum if you have Kyron. Samaje Perine had a really good week against the Jets, Matthew. They keep playing him.
They do. Especially when you think about how much the Bengals pass. They like Perine in pass protection as part of that passing game. So it's, as somebody who has a lot of Chase Brown this year, which don't get me started, although we had a good week this week, Perine is playing more than I'm comfortable with. But to your point, Flacco's throwing it 40 times a game. And when you think about that defense and you think about what Flacco likes to do, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So Samaje Perine suddenly viable. Emmanuel Wilson backing up Josh Jacobs. He continually gets banged up a little bit. And, of course, Ollie Gordon. Nice game for Ollie Gordon last week in just their drubbing of the Dolphins. He's getting a little bit more involvement as well behind Devon Achane. We've ranked those running backs. If all the starters ahead of them were injured, that's how we would rank them. So Algier 1, Tootin 2nd, Monungai, Gainwell, Corum, all the way down. But I just think it's, as you're sitting here, we're entering week 9. You're starting to thinking about the playoffs. We're like 3, 4, 5 weeks away from the playoffs, depending on how your league is set up. It's trying to, again, when you think about all the injuries, you don't want to be caught going to the waiver wire hoping you get the guy.
If you're 6-2, 7-1, even 5-3, and you look at your roster and you've been waiting for somebody to maybe be a boom, it's probably time to maybe give up on them and get insurance instead for your top players. Yeah, that could sink your season immediately.
For sure. Would you give up? I'll give you a pretty good example. Like a lot of people, and I'm one of them, sitting on Brashard Smith. We love Brashard Smith, right?
Looks good when he
touches
the football.
When he touches the ball. He's part of the Chiefs. But if you had Bijan Robinson, would you drop Brashard Smith to grab Tyler Algier? And I would.
You have to at this point.
Yeah.
Unless I'm a 2 or 3 win team hoping I have something there that helps me turn things around. But no, I agree. You have to have the insurance for your best player.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com. And I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.